off this countdown, we have the center of the Earth. This urban legend surrounds the concept that the Bermuda Triangle is actually a way to get to the center of the Earth, as seen in the 2012 film Journey to the Center of the Earth 2, starring The Rock, Josh Hutcherson, and Vanessa Hudgens. In this movie, the crew board an airplane and fly directly through the Bermuda Triangle. This is when they were greeted by a massive cyclone, and after flying directly into it, they are transported to an island, where big creatures are small and small creatures are big. Now, this legend isn't quite the same as the movie, but it does believe that all the people that have mysteriously disappeared were swallowed up by a storm. But it isn't always stormy there. So, legend states that a storm only begins once you enter a specific region, kind of like setting off a tripwire. From there, the ocean will open up wide and suck you right down to the middle of the earth. This is what people use to explain why the boats or airplanes of the travelers are never found. It's because they're swallowed whole. Coming in at number 9, we have the glitch. This urban legend surrounds the idea that the Bermuda Triangle is just one big glitch. It suggests that those who are traveling through it will cause our life simulation to glitch and end up erasing them completely from history. Others believe that it will cause a glitch and teleport them sometime in the future or in the past. So they are said that they're still alive, but just now in a different time frame. Moving on to number 8, we have the ghost ship. Legend states that on December 5th, 1880, a ship known as the Ellen Austin left Liverpool and headed towards New York. While on their trip, the crew spotted a creepy ship floating in fog. There were no signs of a captain or crew on the ship, so some of the crew decided to hop on board to loot it. It was said to be lifeless. No signs of it being ransacked or attacked. However, while the crew was on board, a storm struck and separated the Ellen Austin from the ship for 2 whole days. When the storm stopped, the ghost ship was nowhere to be found. A day later, they found the ship. However, all the crew members on board had vanished. There was no trace of them. As a result, the urban legend rose of a cursed ghost ship that lurks the waters near the Bermuda Triangle. Those who hop on board will mysteriously disappear without a trace. In our 7th spot, we have the mer people. Man, when I was younger, I wanted to be a mermaid so bad, and I think that's thanks to the movie Aquamarine or the show H2O, Just Add Water. Like, I remember swimming in, like, lakes and swimming pool and, like, having my legs together and being like, look, I'm a mermaid! Yeah. Kind of upset that that didn't happen. But there are people out there that believe that the Bermuda Triangle is home to multiple mer people. I mean, we have seen mermaids mentioned all throughout history. In Greek and Roman mythology, they talked about mermaids and mermen, with like Poseidon and Neptune being the gods of the sea. So people believe that they're really out there and can control the Bermuda waters, meaning if you get too close to them, they can create a powerful storm to wash you overboard. Legend states that if you see one of these mer creatures, then you will die from a sudden, terrible storm. This is their way of making sure that people don't find out that they are real. In our 6th spot, we have the sea monsters. Legend goes that a giant sea monster lurks the depths of the Bermuda Triangle. Those who get too close to it will be snatched and pulled under and eaten by this creature. I mean, there is evidence of scary sea creatures. Like, scientists have discovered giant squids that live near the Bermuda Triangle, but others believe that it's a much deadlier creature. Legend goes that the monster is apparently 4 times the size of the Eiffel Tower. It's extremely strong, making it easy to snap planes in mid-air, and it has strong, powerful teeth. This creature has been given the name the Bermuda Beast. Bermuda researcher Rob Simon believes there is indeed a creature lurking in Bermuda waters. He says, and I quote, "Maybe its food source is contained there. It could explain some of the ships that were mysteriously lost." Now, in the diaries of the explorer Christopher Columbus, he wrote about seeing an underwater fire-breathing beast while traveling in the area, making people truly convinced that the legend of the Bermuda Beast is real. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the wormhole. Legend states that the Bermuda Triangle is actually a wormhole that allows for time travel. Let me explain. So this legend began when apparently a man was flying above the Bermuda Triangle when he was suddenly trapped in a storm. His plane went out of control and he fainted. When he woke up, he was 2,000 miles from the triangle, but it said he only traveled for a half hour. It is said that that is impossible for a chartered plane, unless he was traveling at thousands of miles per hour. So it was believed that he was teleported to that location. Another version of the legend states that one day 3 ships were traveling when they entered a mysterious fog. When the 3 ships emerged through the fog, there were only 2 ships, and then one of the ships was really far ahead. Apparently, the crew members of that ship claimed that they went back in time several years. Then they saw the same cloud, went through it, and were transported back to current day. Pretty spooky. Coming in at number 4, we have the lost city of Atlantis. Over the years, the urban legend that the lost city of Atlantis is located deep under the waters of the Bermuda Triangle has been circulating around the internet. Legend states that the city of Atlantis sunk to the bottom of the ocean and that the great Atlantean fire crystals that provided power and energy for the city are still present and working. Their energy is so powerful that it can interfere with compasses and electronic devices. That's supposedly why when planes fly over, they have numerous technical difficulties. In 1945, 5 aircrafts were flying over the Bermuda Triangle when the lieutenant's compass failed. As they got close to the triangle, all their communication was cut out and they were never seen again. And in 1948, a commercial flight vanished. Their radio completely cut out and then they were never seen again. So could it be that the city of Atlantis is messing with these signals? In our 3rd spot, we have the electronic fog. According to a man named Rob McGregor, he is a survivor of the electronic fog that threatens the Bermuda Triangle. Legend goes that on December 4th, 1970, he was flying over the triangle when he was met with this weird tunnel-shaped vortex. He entered it and apparently his wings sounded like they were scraping along metal. All of the electronic and magnetic navigational instruments malfunctioned. When he looked up, all he saw was a dull gray fog. Also, there was a strange cloud forming behind the airplane. Now, they were only in the clouds for a couple of minutes, but claimed that they traveled for 40 minutes. When they got out of the fog, they were over Miami Beach, a flight that should have taken them 75 minutes. He then believes that this weird fog is what caused the other planes and boats and passengers to disappear. Coming in at number 2, we have the lost souls. This legend states that the Bermuda Triangle is haunted by the souls of people that have died in the area. Apparently, several years ago, when ships were traveling along the triangle, slaves and other passengers were tossed overboard and left to drown. In the 18th century, one captain was said to have defrauded insurance companies by tossing some of his crew members off the boat, and then he would cash in on the claim for them. From there, it's said that these souls are still present and are trying to get revenge on those attempting to pass. Other people that have passed the area have claimed to see silhouettes of individuals floating on water in the distance for them to just suddenly disappear. They believe that these souls want you to suffer the same fate as they did. So those flying will crash into the waters and drown, and those sailing will be tipped over. And in our number 1 spot, we have the aliens. Of course, whenever there's something mysterious or unexplainable that happens, people just automatically blame aliens. There are so many legends out there on aliens being associated with the Bermuda Triangle. The first one being that aliens have a secret underwater base in the Bermuda waters. Only extraterrestrials are allowed in this area, others are killed by some invisible force that they have created. Other people believe that the triangle is like a portal and that the aliens use it to travel to and from our planet. Now, what's weird is that apparently Christopher Columbus wrote in his diaries of encountering a UFO. Let me start by saying that his logs and diaries are not actually the originals. His were lost. The logs we do have are a copy that was written by a man named Bartolome de la Casa. So we don't really know how valid his writings are. But apparently Columbus wrote about seeing a bright disc-shaped object rise out of the ocean and fly into the sky. He also said that he would see stars spinning above them, and a candle-like light would float up and down around them. So people think that he saw a UFO.
Coming into number 10, we have air bombs. In 2016, a new theory surrounding the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle came to light. Hexagonal cloud formations were spotted over the Bermuda Triangle area, similarly to some noted over the North Sea in the UK, only much, much bigger. Super hexagons. Those studied off the coast of Britain had the ability to generate waves of over 45 feet and winds of 170 miles per hour. Dubbed air bombs, these in theory could be powerful enough to sink massive vessels, although whether or not they would be big enough to take down a plane is somewhat questionable. Meteorologist Dr. Randy Cavani called the hexagonal cloud formations bizarre. Others have put 2 and 2 together and got 763 and concluded that the hexagonal clouds are alien-made. Alien air bombs. Sure. Coming into number 9, we have the Asian Bermuda Triangle. Just when you thought the rest of the world was safe, it turns out there is a similar spot to the Bermuda Triangle in the Taiwan Strait. In June 2019, a fisherman was lost for 11 days adrift at sea as a fog descended upon his vessel. He ran out of phone battery and his fuel tank burned out, leaving him utterly stranded in a stretch of water that was the site of 85 disappearances in 2016. Luckily, 52-year-old Nian Shanghua survived by drinking his own urine and eating fish until he was finally able to flag down a passing cargo ship 2 weeks after he first got lost. Not only was the area making headlines in 2016, it had also been hailed a scary mystery in 2008 when multiple planes crashed nearby. Is the area a new Bermuda Triangle? Questions. Coming into number 8, we have the electromagnetic comet. Famously, Christopher Columbus claimed that his compass went crazy in the waters of the Bermuda Triangle between Florida and Puerto Rico. The 15th century explorer isn't the only person to complain or note weird seeming magnetic issues in the area. An electromagnetic fog has been the topic of much debate after pilot Bruce Gernon claimed that there were problems with his plane equipment when he flew over the area. So, what's the explanation? It seems that some people think that the strong magnetic energy in the area comes from a comet that crashed to Earth from out of space thousands of years ago. People believe that the alien rock contains a magnetic influence that even from the ocean bed has the ability to mess with boats and even aircraft. Of course, nobody has ever found any evidence of the comet or even an impact crater under the water in the area, so really this is just a story. Others claim the magnetic anomalies come from the triangle being in the meeting place of the magnetic north and the magnetic south. It's pole flips and stuff. I think I just like doing this sometimes in videos too. I need to do more of this. Scripted hands. Although, these are unscripted. Put them away. Okay. Coming into number 7, we have the disappearance of Jennifer Blumen. On May the 15th, 2017, a private plane carrying CEO of the Skylight Group, 40-year-old Jennifer Blumen, and her 2 young sons, Venus and Theodore, disappeared along with her boyfriend, pilot Nathan Ulrich. Air traffic control lost contact with the Mitsubishi MU-2B aircraft while it was heading from Florida from Puerto Rico. Sounds familiar? That's the area of the Bermuda Triangle. The plane was flying at 24,000 feet when it disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle for reasons unknown. Classic. The aircraft vanished from radio and radar control and never made a distress signal. We just don't know what happened. The bodies of the passengers have never been found, but debris believed to be part of the plane was located by the US Coast Guard 15 miles east of Eleutheria in the Bahamas. Another victim of the curse of the triangle? I think so. Hauntingly, Jennifer's last tweet was bye-bye. Coming into number 6, we have the pyramids. The story goes that an oceanographer by the name of Dr. Meyer Verlag found underwater pyramids beneath the Bermuda Triangle. The alleged researcher said that the pyramid is made of a smooth crystal-like substance 3 times the size of the pyramids of Cheops. The website before its news claimed to break the story, saying that Dr. Meyer Verlag had hosted a press conference in the Bahamas presenting a report that claimed to note the exact coordinates of the pyramid, and also noted that the tech used is unknown to modern science. So just curious, has anyone spotted an issue here, other than Crystal Pyramid in the sea? Anyone? What was that website again, before it was news? Fake news, you win again. There is no Dr. Verlag. Nonetheless, the pyramid story remains an enduring myth, with some claiming to have even seen the structures underwater for themselves. Coming into number 5, we have the Lost Souls. Author Dr. Kenneth McAll claimed to have heard a haunting sound while sailing the Bermuda waters. He detailed it in his book Healing the Haunted and suggested that the strange occurrences in the area could be caused by the lost souls of dead African slaves thrown overboard and killed on their journey to the New World. The Bermuda Triangle was used as part of the slave route from Africa, and many Africans did die on the journey. Does this mean that the waters are now cursed? Does this also explain the wailing heard by Dr. McCall? Are they the cries of lost souls? Coming into number 4, we have the pirates. Arr. One explanation for the mysterious disappearances surrounding the Bermuda Triangle is pirates, and I guess it makes sense. If it's good enough for the Pirates of the Caribbean, then it's good enough for me, although I will say the same sentiment does not apply when it comes to Johnny Depp. So, could the mysterious disappearances have had something to do with pirates? Like honestly, maybe it would make a lot of sense, right? More so than a magnetic comet from outer space. A 400-year-old pirate ship was found in Bermuda, and historical documentation places pirates in the waters in the mid-1700s too. Could pirates be capturing people on ships, robbing them and leaving the vessels ransacked? Or just stealing people away? In late July 2015, so very recently, two 14-year-old boys, Austin Stephanopoulos and Perry Cohen, went on a fishing trip on their 19-foot boat. It took the US Coast Guard a year and 15,000 miles of searching to find the boys' abandoned boat off the coast of Bermuda, but the two boys were never seen again. A lot of people think it has something to do with pirates. From pirates to monsters, coming into number 3, we have the Bermuda Beast. It wouldn't be an area of mystery if there wasn't a few monster stories attached to it, right? A number of people believe that the whole Bermuda Triangle issue could be the fault of a giant and hungry sea monster, rather like the Kraken. YouTube channel Unexplained Mysteries delved deeper into the alleged sea monster, the Bermuda Beast, that is said to be able to gobble up ships and planes. I'm kind of imagining it goes something like this. Right, see? I mean, I knew it was the Megalodon all along. I don't know, man, though. To be fair, we're joking and everything, but at the same time, the sea is a deep and curious place, so who knows what's going on. I don't know about monsters or big fish taking down planes, but perhaps boats were gobbled up by something lurking under the waters. It's fun to say things like that, doesn't it? But of course, I don't necessarily believe that there's a big kraken or beast under the water there. I don't know, though. Maybe there is. Coming in at number 2, we have the Sargasso seaweed. In the heart of the Bermuda Triangle is the mysterious Sargasso Sea. The sea has no shores and is bordered by other oceans. Now, the sea is very strange for a number of reasons. It's oddly warm and it's covered in a very dense seaweed. Oddly, the sea has been the location where a large number of boats have disappeared and re-emerged crewless some days later. This is what happened to the vessel Rosalie in 1840, as reported in the Times newspaper. The ship sailed through the sea and was lost in August. Now, by November, she'd been found adrift with all of her cargo aboard and no visible signs of damage. The only thing was, though, she was covered in seaweed and the entirety of her crew had disappeared, never to be seen again. Finally, coming into number 1, we have, is the Bermuda Triangle a glitch in the Matrix? Maybe. At the beginning of 2019, Redditor Paul5424 wrote in Reddit Shower Thoughts, "If we all live in a simulation, the Bermuda Triangle is probably some kind of glitch spot." Now, this comment received over 4,000 upvotes, and it's funny, sure, but like, actually, maybe accurate. Elon Musk thinks that we're living in a computer simulation. In fact, I do believe that he said there is only a 1 in billions chance that we're not living in a simulation, so I think he's pretty convinced. If we are living in a simulation like the Matrix, then surely there'd be glitches for sure. Maybe the reason we can't explain the Bermuda Triangle is because there is no explanation that makes sense to us. Planes and boats have simply been deleted. Okay, so that—
Number 10, Aokigahara. Perhaps it's the density of the forest or the sheer mass size of it, but for whatever reason, Aokigahara Forest draws in lost souls like a black hole. The forest has a dark reputation due to the amount of bodies that have been found from those who took their own lives, and we aren't just talking 1 or 2, we are talking in the hundreds. Since the 1970s, police and volunteers trek through the trees to search and return bodies to their families for proper burials. The forest is presumably haunted, and I can understand why. Many report an eerie silence as a chasm of emptiness, like the forest swallows up even sound itself. The amount of people who enter the forest to take their own lives is so high that they have patrols specifically to speak to and monitor all guests. Though self-harm is not supported in Japan now, the act of taking one's life doesn't have the same stigma like it does over here. Seppuku was a samurai ritual that went all the way back to Japan's feudal era and was considered an honorable way to die. It is not practiced anymore, but it has left a mark with Japan having one of the highest rates of this kind of death. But still, no one can quite explain the mystery that draws so many to end their life here. Number 9, Hoya-Bashu Forest. Dubbed the creepiest forest in Transylvania because, duh, it's in Transylvania. There's obviously like vampires and werewolves running amok. Get your stakes, everyone! Hoya-Bashu Forest is known as the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. So many weird things have happened, including tales of a shepherd who disappeared along with his flock of 200 sheep. How do you lose that many? And a girl who wandered into the forest never to be seen again until 5 years later she reappeared not having aged a day. The reason the forest is haunted is unclear, but the most common story is that around 100 peasants died in the forest and now haunt the grounds. The feeling of being watched is a common sensation, as well as visitors report leaving with unexplained rashes and a sudden anxiety. Who knows if the stories are true or whether it is simply legend that keeps visitors wary. Either way, it's not called the Bermuda Triangle of Romania for nothing. Number 8. Flannan Isle. In December 1900, a disappearance at the Flannan Isles in Scotland earned the islands its notoriety. Atop the island sits a lighthouse manned by no one. When the Hesperus, a ship with a lighthouse replacement, arrived, they discovered the 3 men, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur, who were staying there, had completely disappeared. All of their belongings had been left behind, including plates full of meat, potatoes, and pickles. The clock had stopped. Like, who would leave pickles behind? Not me! The clock had stopped and there was an overturned chair, and 2 of the 3 oilskin coats belonging to the 3 men were gone. The gate and the door were firmly shut. Before the Hesperus arrived, there was a pretty harsh storm, so it was hard to imagine one of the 3 to not bring their coat with them if they left, though they all shouldn't have left anyway. One man was always supposed to man the station. After some investigation, they presumed the men had been swept into the sea while securing mooring lines, but there's always a but. Doubt still remains due to lack of evidence and bodies. Today, anyone who works the lighthouse reports hearing screams and the calling of the 3 men's names. See, we're starting superstitious, we're starting there, and then it's gonna get real. Maybe, we don't know. Let's see. Number 7, Horror Verde. How do 600 people disappear without a trace? A question no one has ever answered. In 1923, a group of travelers were passing by the village of Horror Verde in Brazil, expecting to see a flurry of villagers going about their daily life, but to their shock, it was entirely abandoned. There was no evidence of violence, save for a gun that had been fired the day before they were found. Due to the political unrest of the country at the time, many assumed that the people had fled in fear of the guerrillas. But despite national unrest, none of the inhabitants ever came forward. Shops were left open, clothes and food behind, but no trace of struggle or bodies were found. The only thing they found was a rushed written sentence on the chalkboard of the school that simply said, "There is no salvation." Whoa! Crazy! Number 6, the Bennington Triangle. Some suspect a malicious killer while others suspect something more or less than human, but who is really to say? Located just beside an old abandoned logging town in Vermont, the Bennington Triangle achieved notoriety after a string of disappearances occurred in 1945 and onwards. The first was Mitty Rivers, an experienced guide who led a group of hunters around the area, but not a trace of him was ever found despite a 300-person search. The next to go missing was 18-year-old Paula Weldon. Despite an 1,000-people search mission, plus aircraft scouting and a $5,000 reward, she was never heard from again. Then there was James E. Tedford, who disappeared into thin air while aboard a bus riding through Bennington, his luggage and timetable still on the seat. The list of unanswered questions around this area goes on and on, but one thing is for certain, something or someone in this area isn't a friend to even the most experienced hikers or even just the common bus rider. So be careful if you venture there. Number 5, North Youngest Road. One of the most treacherous pathways in the world, the North Youngest Road in Bolivia should be the road less traveled. It stretches and winds perilously for 50 miles through the Amazon rainforest at the slightly average, definitely not too bad, height of 15,000 feet. Yeah. Easy breezy. Not only is it incredibly high, you're pretty much on your own. There are practically no guardrails and you only have around 12 feet of space. Oh, and did I mention that you are nearly blinded by rain and fog? Yeah. It has been nicknamed the Death Road for a reason, as it has racked up 200 to 300 deaths per year. It's honestly a wonder how people still use it. Never mind disappearing, we know exactly where they'll end up if they fall 15,000 feet. Splat on the ground. Still, the bravest of the brave mountain bikers and hikers attempt the mortifying feat, many contributing to the annual number. Number 4, Snake Island. I personally don't mind snakes. I actually think they're kind of cute. They're like little boop ropes. Boop. That's what they do. But even I don't want to get caught even a mile away from this island. Snake Island is exactly as it sounds, an island entirely covered in some of the most poisonous snakes in the world. Located 90 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo, some studies report that there are 5 snakes per square meter covering the island, so like you couldn't walk without encountering at least 1 or 5. It is so dangerous that people are banned from visiting due to the occupation of the golden lancehead vipers. Lancehead vipers are incredibly poisonous. These lancehead vipers are actually 5 times more poisonous than the ones on the mainland. Crazy. Lancehead vipers are incredibly poisonous, their venom having a neurotoxic quality that can kill a human within an hour if untreated. The snakes are also hyper evolved, hence the 5 times as poisonous, given that there are no predators threatening their existence on the island. They've even learned how to jump from trees to attack birds and eat them. So yeah, if you hate snakes, or even if you think they're cool, this is definitely an island you never want to end up on. Before we reach our top 3, remember to take a moment to help us out and press that like, subscribe button, because we love you for it, and virtual hug. So nice. Number 3, Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Next up, we have a lake that is responsible for killing 1,700 people. What? Located in West Africa, it is deceptively beautiful. Beneath the water, there is a pocket of magma, aka like a secret volcano, that leaks carbon dioxide into the lake. The CO2 stays dissolved in the water due to the pressure of the 650 feet of water on top of the magma secretions, like a pop bottle with an invisible lid, until one day that lid popped off. On August 21st, 1986, the lake abruptly depressurized and CO2 exploded into the air. The massive cloud of CO2 raced down the hill towards the village below and suffocated 1,700 people and animals. Almost nothing survived. Today, pipes are used to siphon the CO2 out from the bottom of the lake in order to prevent this from happening again, but the lake still remains a danger to those who live near it. Number 2, Naples, Italy. Surprised? Why on earth would such a beautiful place be on the list of scarier places than the Bermuda Triangle? Well, one word: Pompeii. Remember Pompeii? Of course you wouldn't, you weren't there. But you definitely learned about it in history. The massive volcano that asphyxiated and burned alive the entire population of Pompeii. Well, Naples is right next to that very same volcano. Good old Vesuvius. And the very same thing will happen again to the 650,000 people who live there. We just don't know when. It's also not the only volcano that threatens the area, and some might even be worse than anything they could expect from Vesuvius. Still, the city is filled with people who live by the words, "Oh well, it will never happen to me." But to me, that type of uncertainty doesn't sound like a place I'd like to live. Maybe visit, but even then, it would be that time the volcano erupted. It would be the time I'm like sitting with a glass of wine and it just well, cheers to that. And last but not least, one of the largest accidental mass grave sites in the world, like bigger than the Bermuda Triangle. This is actually scarier out of all the list. So it's perfect for number 1, duh. The Alaska Triangle. Like the Bermuda Triangle, this mysterious area has gobbled up one lost soul after another. How many exactly? Well, from the 1980s alone, around 16 to 20,000 people have disappeared without a trace. The most famous case which caught national attention was when the plane of Majority Leader Hale Boggs vanished in 1972. Even one of the largest search and rescue operations found no trace of the plane. They searched for 39 days, used 40 military aircrafts and 50 civilian planes to cover the area, and still nothing. No sign of wreckage, debris, or human remains. And this is not the only time this has happened. In the 1950s, 44 passengers and the pilot disappeared, and in the 1990s, a Cessna 340 carrying 4 people also vanished. No wreckage, debris, or any bodies were recovered from either case. Roughly 4 missing person reports are filed for every 1,000 people in Alaska. Some insist that the crafts were simply buried by nature, while others suspect a more supernatural explanation. Either way, somewhere within this 32,000 square kilometers there are bodies stacked on top of each other, never to be found.